When the world has got you down. And
Alzheimer's sucks. It's an equal opportunity disease that chips away at everything we hold dear. And to date, there's no cure. So until there is, we continue to fight with the most powerful tool in our arsenal, love. This is Love Conquers Alls, a real and really positive podcast that takes a deep dive into everything Alzheimer's, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And now, here's your hosts, Susie Singer-Carter and Cassie Cruz.
all you gotta do is sing a song.
Hello, everybody. I'm Susie Singer-Carter.
And I'm Cassie Cruz, and welcome to Love Conquers Alls.
Welcome, welcome. We're happy to be here. We're happy that if you're joining us, and hope everybody is safe and feeling good and washing hands and not, wearing your mask.
Yeah, and I have to say, it's not like the best fashionista kind of stuff.
Oh, we're making it. We're embracing it. I made a denim one. I've made a polka dot one. I'm like, I'm going all out.
Oh, you
Don't
are?
make me bling
Okay.
it. Don't make me bling it.
You're going to bling it. I already know you. To me, I'm like,
you're making me bling it.
I'm gonna make you bling the crap out of it.
Oh my gosh. So we have another good guest. What goes on? We're very lucky this week.
By the way, we always have great guests.
We do.
We are absolutely blessed. And talk about bling. I mean, this beautiful creature, she is absolutely gorgeous. Wait till you see her. You'll totally agree.
I already saw her. I saw her. I met her. And she's beautiful. And she's got a tan.
I saw her. I met her.
Yeah. She's got the same coloring as my mother. My mother is very olive toned and could look like she's any country she's in. She looks like a native.
But her name is Arielle Caputo. But Arielle is not just beautiful from the outside. She is a gorgeous creature from the inside. I'm sure that's what makes her beauty so much more effervescent, right? Arielle is a published author and philanthropist. And over the last decade, she has worked on a diverse range of projects, from charity galas to fundraisers to pop-ups with focus on youth empowerment, homelessness, or mental well-being, as well as hosting the annual Globe Youth Awards, which we're going to talk about that.
What is that?
I'm telling you, she's just done some fantastic things. It's just really all about love, right? She's also a certified suicide intervention coach.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, exactly. I'm telling you, this woman is deep. And she has had to, really just bring everything from that love place, and she is sharing it with the world. She's currently an office manager for SB Projects, a diverse entertainment and media company embedded in social impact, and with the goal of inspiring the next generation.
Wow.
She is also the founder of Mindful Living. And so, of course, we're going to put all this up in her bio on this podcast. And with Mindful Living, she uses that social media to encourage corporations to integrate mindful practices in their everyday workflow, as well as incorporating sustainability in the office. So let's bring Arielle out, please.
Welcome, Arielle Caputo. Welcome. Girl with hat.
This is a hat day, yes.
It's always a hat day now.
I agree with you.
Well, first off, you have so many hats, Susie. I mean, you are like a hat gala girl.
Is it wrong? It's not.
No, not wrong.
No. Arielle has a lot of hats too.
Yeah.
My kind of girl.
You haven't aged a day at all.
Aw, how lovely. It's that 5-year-old inside of me. That's how old I feel, by the way. I'm 5, because everything's like, oh, this is so cool. Oh, let's do this. Oh, I want to do that. Oh, yeah, I want that.
That'll keep you young. That's how I am. I literally feel like I'm a 13-year-old girl at all times.
I love it. Thank you.
So, yeah. Arielle, what aren't you doing? What are you doing?
Tell us who Arielle is.
Arielle. Goodness.
Tell us your
What
story. How did you just become this beautifulness and this person full of love?
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to your intro and you were just saying how beautiful I am. And there was a time that I hated mirrors. I would avoid car reflections and building reflections at all costs. There's probably a straight 2 years I don't have a single photo of me at all. that absolutely despise the way I look. So it's so funny to me, people are like, you're beautiful. And I'm like, wow, I did not always think that. So thank you.
That's
You
hard.
know,
That's hard to fathom because
It's hard to
Crazy,
fathom
right?
because
but we all don't see. Sometimes we don't see what others see.
right.
Yeah.
We are our worst enemies sometimes.
Yes, and then I think that that's really what your story is about, and why you that this is just how my take is, and I could be wrong, but I'm sure you're going to share with us. Tell us about that part, because that's
Yeah.
the part that I think most people are going to connect with, because I totally have a very big crisis with my body and my body image. So, and a lot of people do, because of the way that the way it's supposed to be, right? The way we're supposed to look, or the way advertising has told us this is what beauty is. And I'm like, I don't fit that at all. So
Especially here in Los Angeles, I feel like there's so much pressure. But yeah, so let's go back. Let's see how far back. I was born and raised on a Christian non-denominational compound in a communal home
Wow.
with 40 plus people.
Wow.
Yes.
Where?
So
What part of the world is this?
Washington State.
Okay.
Yeah. So incredibly close knit, very religious. So women head to toe adornment. You didn't really wear makeup. You didn't really wear jewelry, nail polish, no. But you were clothed head to toe. The school was segregated, so boys on one side, girls on another side.
Oh.
Bible study every single night, or choir, or some sort of music, piano and guitar lessons, but very biblical, so very, very religious. So born and raised in that. The church owned the school as well. So, and then the church owned several businesses. So everyone stayed within the community. Everything you needed was inside of this close knit.
Like it's hearkening to, almost culty, in a way. And, like when you talk about Scientology, or even, Hasidic, I'm Jewish, the Hasidic Jews. And if anyone saw the Unorthodox, the movie that was on Netflix, which was phenomenal and really pulled the curtain back on that, the disparity between females and males, that was antiquated kind of thing in modern day.
Yeah. Well, you're taught as a girl, you're taught to play a subservient role. You're going to serve the husband. So there is no college education whatsoever. You graduate from the school, and then you're going to get married, and then you're going to start having kids, and that's kind of your whole lifestyle.
Right. You're a factory.
Literally.
Yeah.
And the other thing is too, beauty. It's all about being virtuous. So it's what's on the inside, not on the outside.
Right.
So my sisters and I grew up incredibly bullied because we kind of naturally have some sort of beauty.
You are naturally absolutely off the chart beautiful. So that is true. But you didn't know that inside, because you were actually shamed because of that, right?
Shame. So I spent my entire teenage years despising myself. I have really light eyes. You can't really see them here. But I used to beg that I had brown eyes. I used to beg that I could put on weight because I was too skinny. I literally despised myself and my body. I would be like, can I just be ugly? Because then I would be more virtuous. And so that's literally, how I spent my teenage years. I mean, crying myself to sleep, asking to be ugly. I would wear t-shirts up to here so that I wouldn't be seen, because if you are, then you're attracting the wrong type of attention. So talk about not having a relationship to self, right? Ended up leaving when I was 18, and then got in a abusive relationship. I think if you don't heal issues of our childhood, then we recreate them in our adulthood, because that's kind of what we inherently know, right? So I grew up in a very robotic, structured environment. So then thus
you gravitate to what you know. Yes.
Literally attracted that right back in.
Even if you don't want that, right? I mean, because
we don't actively choose it, right? You never think it's a relationship from the beginning.
It's familiar. It's familiar.
And then you get sucked in, and then you get to the point where you're like, I'm not beautiful. I could never do it on my own. I could never be anything without him. And so then you start to believe these lies about yourself. Long story short, I ended up becoming homeless, lived on the streets. I knew where every single food bank was in the area. I was sneaking into a building that had a basement. So I would sleep in the basement on black trash bags with all of my clothes and shoes. and then got a job at a restaurant just so that I could eat. So talk about some really low ground zero points. Ended
How
up,
old were you at that time? You were
oh my goodness, I was 19, 20, right around there. Ended up taking the guy back, right? Because he's like,
of course you did. Yeah.
Of course, of course.
Of course. And they've changed. And they've
I'm
changed.
better now.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you
Yes,
still
they've
haven't
changed.
healed those things and worked on this, then you're like, oh, okay.
Well,
let me
because
go
you
back.
want that. But
Someone
you want
does
that
love me.
too. And you hope.
Absolutely. We're all craving love, right? So
Yeah.
if you don't love yourself first, then you're craving it from some outside person. Yeah. So ended up taking him back, and it was a disaster. It was not good. I ended up leaving my car and everything behind, bought a one-way ticket out of the state, and moved in with my best friend at the time. And we were like, let's just start from ground zero. Let's just start over. This is real personal. I ended up donating blood with her at a blood bank, and the nurse was like, that's so kind of you to do while you're pregnant. And I was like, no, you have the wrong blood. And she was like, yeah. She was like, no, this is you. And I made her rerun the test. Sure enough, it was me. And that's how I found out. So about 3-4 months later, that's how I found out that I was pregnant. So 21, working my ass off, kind of got into my own place, got my own car. And I remember coming home from the hospital 21, yeah, with a newborn baby. And talk about a whole new low. I was by myself with this baby, feeling like a child myself, and was just like, what the heck? You could blame a lot of people. You know, your parents weren't real good parents. They didn't help you like most parents should. You know, your friends abandoned you. This guy did this, that. You could blame a lot of people, and you know what? I would be right. But I was like, now what? What do I do with that?
right.
So I sat there, and I remember after crying, being like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to fix this, but I'm going to fix this. And I'm going to build the life that we deserve to have. And I'm going to go all out, and we're going to laugh, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to have a good life. We're going to get out of here. And I was living in Washington, and I do not like Washington. It's too much rain for me. So yeah, ended up saving, working, kicking my ass off, kicking butt, working my ass off. And my goal was to move by June, which is my birthday, so a 6-month goal. So I moved here to Los Angeles. Didn't know a soul at all. Ended up going to college to finish getting my film degree. Got a job with you guys, actually, at that time.
Oh, is that when that happened? Okay.
Literally, shortly after. I don't think you know how much you saved me at all.
I had no idea all those things were happening. All I know is that, you know, you were extremely conscientious. We were so grateful to have you. You were our front, you were our face.
Yeah.
And you and your daughter were amazing little creatures to have in our place. And I did not know all of those things, Arielle. I knew
craziness.
you've had some diciness, of course, in your life, you know, because that's what that shift was about. And I think you were in the midst of building that shift while you were working for us, right?
Yeah.
And you're in new enterprises.
Yeah. And then going to school full time at night, getting by. Then went through a couple of really bad accidents. You actually probably remember them. I was in a car accident, and the radiator blew, and I suffered 2nd-degree burns on both arms.
Horrible. I remember that.
Excruciating pain. Fast forward, got in a car accident. A girl was driving, and I ran a red light, completely T-boned my car, destroyed me. So I went through therapy. I forgot a part of the story. I'll just mention it really quick. Back a few years prior, I'd been in a really bad jet ski accident. So I fractured my neck, dislocated my pelvis, and broke both feet.
Arielle, oh my God.
Incredible. Yes.
So
it's all come full circle.
The universe was trying to wake you up. The universe was
literally. Yes.
Yeah.
Then a car accident happened. There was being thrown back again. And I remember then I started dating this guy, and he was really sweet. And then he left me. And it was just one day where I broke down. And I was like, everybody in my life leaves me. I'm not good enough. My family left me. My daughter's dad left me. This guy left me. I'm feeling of abandonment, betrayal, everything. And was kind of like, oh, but if you were Arielle's friend, would you choose to be her friend? And it kind of was this turning point. And then I said, all these things, things keep happening to me. I'm like, I'm so unlucky. And then I said, maybe there's a chance that I'm kind of attracting these things into my life. And that was mind blowing because I've always been naturally kind of positive, naturally kind and compassionate. I'm the oldest of 8 kids. Like I'm very nurturing.
You were very outgoing. You were very loving. You were always very loving. You weren't somebody that appeared that you would attract that type, right? Of badness in your world. But I want to say it like this is that the common denominator of all those things, exactly what you said, is you. That's the hardest thing, even for me, even at my age and now, that just recently for me this year, that was like the common denominator of everything that I don't like about myself or I want to feel bad about or feel victimized by is me.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's the same in all of these scenarios, you know? So I have to really look at myself like that, like what Michael Jackson says, you know, the man in the mirror, and making that change. And that change is really hard to make.
Very hard.
Mostly to accept.
Well, yeah,
you know?
there's Arthur Miller. It has the greatest quote, which I'm going to bastardize, but it's one of my favorites. But it's like talking about, you know, having this recurring nightmare of this really horrible, ugly child, like chasing him and he's always trying to run away from this horrible child. Like he's looking at it and the child's trying to get him, and it's like this deformed and horrible thing. And he finally like is so tired, he just turns around and grabs the child and hugs it.
Yeah.
And and it was him. It was his idiot child. And he calls his idiot child. And then once he embraced that
idiot child,
which he was afraid of, he became
beautiful.
strong, and he had nothing to fear.
I 100% agree. And like, that's the kind of the point I was making. So then I ended up crashing. I was incredibly depressed for a few years. And I literally was like, okay, I'm expecting all these people to choose me, but I had never chosen Arielle at all. In fact, I was running from her. I weighed 90 pounds. I had really bad cystic acne at the time too, which is your body just expressing itself of the emotions that you are feeling towards yourself, right? So yeah, talk about despising. People would say, love yourself, go inward. And I was like, I am running from this girl. I cannot stand her. I am not proud of her. Look what she did. And you just list all these failures and then everything that's wrong with you. And then especially in LA, you start thinking like, I need to be this perfect 10 with blonde hair and this height. And it's so much pressure to be this certain beauty, right? But I will tell you, the change didn't happen until I said, okay, I have to choose Arielle. And you have to be willing to sit there. I mean, can I be R-rated here? But
you can say whatever you gotta say, whatever you need, babe.
You gotta sit and get naked and sit in front of the mirror and say, I love you. And sometimes you don't love you, but we can always look in the eyes and just be like, Arielle, I love you. And my turning point was when I sat there and I tried to go back to the earliest childhood memory I could possibly think of. Maybe 3rd grade on the dodgeball court when the boys didn't choose you. But I had just recreated all these scenarios in my mind where I wasn't chosen, wasn't good enough. And that was just carrying into my adulthood and all these different scenarios. So willing to sit there and be like, in that situation, they didn't choose you or they did you wrong, sure. But I love you and I choose you. And now I'm listening. And I went from every single memory I could possibly do all the way up until the present.
Well, that's incredible, because I've been through similar, not the same, but similar, with abandonment issues and bad relationships and wondering, you know, and I remember I went to this psychotherapist who was going to hypnotize me, right? Who was actually a producer friend of mine too. She did this, and I don't have that in me to let go and be like hypnotized. Like I just feel like I'm always in control. Yeah. But I thought, okay, I'll go with it. I'll go with the flow. And so I did. I tried it. I tried really hard to go through the whole process, and then I was like, it's not really happening here. And so she said, let's try something different. And she said, so I want you, this isn't about your ex, this is about you. And I want you to just really just, I want you to tell me how much you love yourself. And I go, what? That's not happening. That's dorky. And I am not going to do that. Like, I couldn't look in the mirror and go, I love you, Susie. No way. That would not happen. And I said, yeah, that I don't feel comfortable doing that. I'm not going to be doing that. She goes, okay, all right, let's try something else. And then she took me through this journey where she said, want you to think of yourself when you were younger, a really fun time. And I literally can remember before I was a year old, but I went to I was about 4 years old, and I had a best friend, Michael, and I said, okay, and I was a really good day, and I was remembering him. And she goes, okay, tell me what you're wearing. Who is she? What is she doing? And I said, oh, well, I'm Bossy Boots. I'm telling him, Michael, my best friend, I want to play house. And if he doesn't like it, I'm going home and and this and that. And I said, we just got in a big fight, and he came and apologized to me. And I said, okay. And then now we're back playing, and she goes, so do you love this little girl? And I go, I do. And she goes, you're letting her down.
Yeah. That's it.
You're letting her down. And that was the big turning point for me. I needed to love that little girl because she was looking up to me to make her life good.
Oh, that's very sweet. And I think that what we're talking about right here is growing up is whenever I had any issues, Cass, you don't love yourself enough. I grew up in a very abusive, dysfunctional family, and, emancipated myself when I was 16. So very similar to some of that trajectory. I didn't live on a commune. I actually didn't have any parents that were really paying attention to any of us. You were like, just do whatever you want. But I didn't know, because I was people say just love yourself. No, I love myself. I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And I can do this too. Mm-hmm. So don't tell me I'm not taking care of myself, but you see this hey, and it's that anger, that that spark.
Defensive.
Because I didn't even consciously was of course I love myself. I'm taking care of myself. I am doing that.
Right.
It's not the same. It's not this, there's that peace inside. And I think I'm just finding that this year. I mean, I've lived a long time. So I've lived a little bit, and it's not easy to get to the place that you're talking about, Arielle, right? It takes a lot of courage and vulnerability and perseverance in the time down and exploration for you to say what does love look like? Because I was not taught what real
none of us are.
Looks like. So I didn't know. So I'm well, I'm doing this. So I'm of course loving this.
I get my haircut done. No, that's not love. Self-care. It's two very different things.
Right. So now you continue your story now that we've interjected.
Well, it's good. I mean, we all have different stories, but we all share that similarity. And I had a mother who was very, very, very loving and very supportive, and would say to me, I don't know why you're insecure. It hurts my feelings. It hurts me deeply because she goes, you don't know what you have.
And you're gorgeous too. I mean, and so finding that's what you're talking about though, right, Arielle? It's
but it's within us, because like you said, you had certain, background, and you had a certain background, and I have a certain background. It doesn't change the way we feel. It has to come within.
Yeah. And what we're really talking about too, and what we've been talking about on our podcast is everybody's different. Alzheimer's looks different because, this is about Alzheimer's. But we are talking, the reason why we wanted to talk to you is because the caregivers, we need to care for ourselves. And how does that look like? What does that look like? And if we're having certain experiences, what can we do to make that shift? And no, it's not I'm not saying because I look in the mirror and say, I love you, Cassie. And I could actually say that because I thought I loved myself, but I still kept having certain experiences. So there were some pieces of me that I was running away from. That I was if I was a doer, if I was doing it,
right,
then nobody could say anything to me. That's kind of like an alcoholic, right? You can't call me an alcoholic because I'm paying my own way. You can't call me a drunk because I'm paying my own way. That was my dad.
Right. It's I'm a mom too, so you have to choose yourself first. It's that I love you, but I love me more. We're taught that that's selfish, but it's not selfish. You can't, it's that mask, or it's the mask on an airplane analogy, Right. You can't help someone if you're not helping yourself first. And it's, people always ask, what was your motivation? I didn't know the real world. I didn't know real life. I didn't know what was out there, what the possibilities were. So you don't always have to have a motivation in front of you. Oftentimes it can always be what I don't want. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to despise myself. I want out of that. And for me, it was like, I'm rock bottom. I am incredibly depressed. I am incredibly unhealthy. I want out of here as fast as possible. So it's willing to devote and make time to love you. And it comes in so many different ways. For some people, I strongly recommend meditating. Some people, it's yoga. Some people, it's painting. Sometimes it's doing journaling, binaural beats. It's all those little factors, placing crystals around your home that all factor in, but being willing to choose you above all else, you know?
Investing in yourself. You have to invest in yourself.
Mhm. Yeah. So then I started doing charity events. You guys actually helped with a couple. I posted one the other day. It was literally 6 years ago from this week, but we sponsored 10 girls from South LA to go to prom. Do you remember this?
I totally remember that. I saw that picture. I'm like, oh my God, that was a Digital Jungle. We got to
6 years
participate,
ago.
and they came over, and you got them all dressed. You got them all
Their
gowned.
makeup, Dennis gave them photos.
Yeah, and then you got a limo for them, and you took them to the prom, and
Yeah.
all these underprivileged gals that would not have been able to afford to go.
I
And
just,
they're
yeah.
not.
Yeah, well, we just figured, okay, I hate my life. I don't really like what's going on. I don't know how to fix it. But then maybe someone is in a worse situation than I am. So maybe I could divert my attention off of despising my life and myself. And that was kind of like the turning point, the turning the knob, clicking, you know? So we ended up doing multiple charity events. Each one picked up more traction and got bigger and bigger and bigger. From galas to fundraisers to bringing in a whole slew of barbers to give all the homeless kids fresh haircuts. You name it, we've done all sorts of different events. But yeah, so that was kind of the turning point. The healing through giving is incredibly powerful because it turns the attention off of you.
Right.
But then if you still don't step into your power and talk about loving yourself, then it still can become a mask sometimes, you know?
Distraction. Yeah.
Right, a distraction rather than like that's the reason, so that's your purpose, and then all of a sudden you're not caring for yourself.
Right.
Still, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would say the turning point really happened for me personally, internally, to the point where the entire world could then see, was last year. It was after going through a little bit of a breakup again and being like, what? How can a man send me for a spiral? Like, I thought I had fixed this. I thought I was good, and a boy can knock me off again? Literally.
Yeah, welcome.
Right?
Yeah, because all of a sudden it brings all those old wounds back up again too, and trying to confirm those things, and really looking for the outside to love
validate you and to love you.
And it's very difficult because we were raised that way in our culture and in society, and that's really, I wanted to have you on our podcast because I wanted women to be empowered. I wanted, of course, men as well. I want all of us to be empowered because it's really about love. And that's what our podcast is about, because love conquers all.
Literally.
And right, what does your tattoo say?
Love is everything.
It's because when you have that vibration of love, that energy, that's what we're vibrating out, and that's what we can attract back. And yes, will the tide be something else sometimes, and then something else may come in to our shore, and then we get to address those old wounds of abandonment, about not feeling loved enough, or being good enough to be loved, or to be chosen. Those are some of my pain points. Same. And it's a rough place to be, and you feel very alone in that. And I really wanted people to know that they're not alone, and that's why I wanted you on this program, because I know that you've rode that wave so many times. And it's crashed you on the shore a couple of times of you. And then when God crashes you on your own shore, you get to go, oh wait, and then you wake up back up and you're like, what do I need to do? And that's what I love about you, your perseverance, your resilience, and your willingness to look back into yourself. And that's where you have built your mindful living, I know. And and actually, when you were working with us, you wrote a book as well. And your book's title is?
Love you, we, me. So funny story about that. So during this time, I started receiving a lot of outflow or people pouring out asking for help around suicide. And I experienced a good friend growing up who passed away from suicide. But other than that, I didn't really have much experience in it. So I ended up going and getting suicide certified through the Diddy Hirsch Center and then volunteered for the hotline. And I was really frustrated at the lack of support being offered once the hotlines are amazing, don't get me wrong. They bring you to a safe space, but then what? You know? So then I started going to different depression groups, and I found, I think I went to one group 3 times in a row, and I was shocked at, I'd only been there 3 times, but when we went around the whole room and everyone said their story, it was the same exact story that they had been saying every single time. I'd only been there 3 weeks. I could only imagine those that had been there for 20 years. And I was mortified. And it was this light bulb of what your words have power, and what you say and what you talk about. Not only does it keep your present life in a perpetual cycle, it literally already creates and maps out what your future is like. So I ended up starting my own support group. And the number one rule was when you came in, you said your story one time, and then the next week you were not allowed to say it again. And we just worked on shifting our vocabulary the slightest bit. Everything is energy, and we're all vibrating at different levels of energy, right? So love is the highest, and depression, anger is one of the lowest. If someone's incredibly suicidal, you cannot put a book in front of their face or a podcast and be like, go read this. When someone's suicidal and depressed, you can barely eat, you can barely get out of bed, let alone read a book. So you're talking about very baseline, basic necessities. And so that was one of the things, is how can we just slightly shift our vocabulary about ourselves. There was a time when I was not okay. I was incredibly depressed and I wanted out. And to tell someone to be like, smile, it'll be better. I'm like, I don't even remember how to smile. I didn't even remember the last time I laughed. So one of the things I did was take a sticky note and I wrote, tomorrow I can be okay. And I put it on the edge of my bed. And I just began to sit there and be like, I'm not okay right now. But is there a chance? Is there a possibility that in the future I could be okay? And I was like, oh, okay, I can chill with that. I could accept that. And then it was like, I think my smile could come back in 3 months. I could be okay with that. So it's learning to just slightly shift your vocabulary in a positive way. It's that bicycle, it's that snowball. Roll it down a mountain, it builds up traction, builds up, speed. But you get to set it in the right direction, and you have to take control. One of the things that really helped me was setting an alarm on my phone. I had one that went off every single hour, literally just reminding you to pause, because in this moment, right here in this very moment, regardless of anything else outside happening, whether you're broke, depressed, in an abusive relationship, in this moment, you can be okay. So with the alarms, it was learning to just pause and just breathe. And now I tell people, like, literally put your hands on your heart and physically imagine refueling. Your heart is more powerful than your brain and your mind. Literally refuel, watch it expand, send love from yourself outward. And I just kept putting those alarms, having those alarms go off every single hour and literally pausing. And eventually it takes over. I remember being like, oh, I don't need the alarms anymore. I got this. I picked up the bicycle and I was pedaling in that right direction, So it's finding those little tools for you, no matter what you're doing, that can bring you to a positive moment or a focused moment right here. So back to the yoga or painting or whatever it is. But just bring yourself to these moments, because right here we all can feel okay right here.
That is so beautiful. I love the way that you broke that down and that you discussed it, because I had to many times when I was having my own depressions or anxiety, and not feeling adequate or enough, I'd have to pause. I didn't put an alarm on that. That's a very smart thing. I wasn't that smart. But I would have to be like, when I'd be like, wait a second, is there somebody pointing a gun at me?
Right.
Do I have food? Right. Do I have shelter?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have clothes? I have all my absolute base needs met. I'm okay. I'm okay right now. You're okay. I had to remind myself that I'm okay. And that was all I could even muster up at that time when you're pressed up against. But they're for the, grace of God go I with anybody that's either homeless. I have a huge affinity to the homeless. Because I could easily have been that, and you have been that, and I'm grateful that I was on the verge and on the edge many times, but then I would have like a friend or something, be able to be there for me. So I'm grateful for that, and that building those relationships with people, but mostly yourself, and having that care. And I love Brene Brown, and I love what Brene says. It was like, talk to yourself like you would be talking to someone that you love.
Absolutely.
That's one of her quotes. And she said so many great things, but I love that one. And just what you're doing, the impact that you're doing. What happened with your book, by the way? Because you did a lot of galas, you did a lot of things out of that book, and it was all about love. Yeah.
So the book it was just meant to be used for material in the support group. So it's very introductory, basic level. It's made to be 1 page a day. So we would just read 1 page in the support group, and it's just a mixture of quotes of different positive activities, different ways to volunteer. And I always tell people it's just about planting a little seed. Just drop the seed in, just try it, see where it goes. Some things will resonate with you, some things won't. Just do 1 page a day, right? So that was the book. And then eventually the charity events got bigger and bigger, and they were picked up on TMZ and a few different reality shows, and the events got bigger, and it got to the point where people were reaching out to me being like, you have an event, I want to be involved. And so they just became a lot of fun, and I lost myself in a good way in the service of others, because that can be incredibly healing. Anything from galas focused on raising funds for homeless teens to, let's see, what was most recently? We had 3 back-to-back in November. It was insane. The biggest one actually is the Global Youth Awards, which is a lot of fun. We can talk about that if you want.
Yes, please. What is that?
Yeah, so this is an award show for youth who are bettering the world in any way, ages 11 to 18. So that was incredibly fun. I got invited to be the host last year. It was such an awesome experience. My daughter actually was on stage with me presenting the awards. But 12 children won, and what they're doing was incredibly remarkable. But we're doing it again this year. We'll see how COVID affects us, because it's not till November. But that's a lot of fun, and the next generation is where it's at. It's our duty to raise children to be thought leaders and to be healers, so.
What are they getting awards for? What's the opportunity on that? And how do they submit to be able to get an award for that?
Yeah, for sure. I can send you the application link. The organization is called Roundtable. They're actually London-based, so they've been doing awards in London, and this is their 3rd year that we're doing it in Los Angeles, so fairly new over here. But some of the winners last year, let's see, one of the girls was the youngest yoga instructor in the world.
How old is
she? Oh my God, I'm going to butcher her age. I want to say 14, certified yoga instructor, but and bless her parents, but all of her classes are donation based. And so then every single class, she'll do a cause per month. So then every single month she'll switch out who they donate to, and all the proceeds, 100%. The amount of money this girl had raised at 14 in over a year, it was incredible. That was one girl. There were a couple of, this young girl, she was 8. She had written a song about anti-bullying, being kind, a little rap song, and had posted it on YouTube, and now travels at different schools performing and singing it and just talking about being kind. So she won an award. So there's categories in creativity, leadership, music, and education. These kids are doing is absolutely phenomenal. So it was so much fun to be a part of it, especially as a parent myself. And it's a whole evening. It's an evening of inspiration for the entire family. So we did 12 kids got awards, and then there were 5 or 6 different performances mixed in throughout the evening, trade pass around food. It's a lot of fun. Well,
Oh, you know what though, that is so very important, because you're right. The next generation, the children, we've left them with a lot to deal with.
yeah,
You know, we've not been conscious. We've not been mindful,
no,
right?
literally.
We need to become more mindful, right? And become more conscious about what we're doing.
And that's just it. Those 2 words, mindful and conscious, is not perfection. You know, so I love that you choose those 2 words. It's just being aware, but not seeking to be perfect in sustainability or perfect in self-love.
It's also modeling. Like, I have 2 daughters, and it's modeling, you know, and you don't realize how impactful that is, you know, and you don't know when you're going through hard times, but when you model resilience and you
courage,
learn it.
Absolutely.
Well, you're gonna be the example.
Yeah, and you only know that when you get your Mother's Day card a year later, and they're like, right? And you're like, you thought you've been like a total basket case, and they're like, no, go mom.
Right.
Go mom, go mom.
You teach them what it is to be resilient,
Yeah.
or you teach them, getting back to Alzheimer's and being caregiver, you teach them how to be a caregiver. And that it's just
a human being.
Yeah, which I have taught my daughters by, not because it was part of my curriculum as a parent, it was because I was doing it.
You were an example.
And I did it as an
good
example. I didn't know that I knew inherently it was the right thing to do. But, you know, certainly I had other people telling me, why would you want to expose your daughters to that? It's so hard. And like, you know, basically, why don't you just hide them from that?
Yeah.
And luckily I had a very good colleague who said to me, are you kidding me? You couldn't be doing anything better for them.
100% agree. That's it. My daughter goes to all my charity events with us. She'll be downtown passing out food. You got to develop empathy, compassion. That's what connects us all. We've all been through some sort of shit. Okay, we've all been there, whether it's homelessness or not, or depression, or having everything in the world materialistically, but not knowing your passion. We've all been through shit.
You just have to learn to get back up. We're going to hit the wall. We do. We hit walls all the time, every day.
And that's okay. And that's okay to do so. Have you ever been affected or touched by Alzheimer's in any way?
No, I don't know anyone in my immediate circle, to be honest.
Right. And so, I mean, I'm super grateful, because the reason why I wanted to have you on this podcast and what I thought was important is that energy of love, because I believe that conquers alls, not just alls, but all as well, you know, ALL, because with that we can overcome. We can't change Alzheimer's right now, and we can't change our past. That's over.
And we can't change any like things that are dealt to us, like Alzheimer's, or, you know, anything.
Or anything.
So what are your choices?
We can raise our vibrations.
That's the key.
We can raise our vibrations and change our perspective.
Right.
So we can start learning, what does love look like? What is it?
Right.
And how, because it's not tangible. It's not a tangible thing, but
it is a verb.
It is a verb, but it's not tangible for me either. But what does it look like?
Right.
And how to actually express that, and also how to let people be in their shit. I hate to say it like that.
Yeah.
And not put them down for it, but love them for it and love them through it.
But also let them go. Let them go. Learn to let go of things that don't feed you and serve you. You don't need to. You can't embrace everything. It's not our job.
No.
You can only embrace that.
Right? It's that lighthouse analogy. Can you show up as a lighthouse right where you have been planted, emanating love right there? Right? We can't always be a lifeguard and jump in the rescue boat and save everyone, but you can show up right here, you know, and just shine that light. Right. Just anchor in the love.
Because you can waste your time on someone who's not open on it, you know, and is not going to feel it. They're not going to receive it. They're not going to get it. They're not wired for it yet. And maybe they never will be. So you do what you do at your highest level. And, you know, and, you know, I think light, you know, the same energy attracts the same energy. So if you fall into the negative energy, that's where you'll stay.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say though too, the people that are in the negative energy, because I've been there and I've had some great teachers and some great people that have loved me while I've been in my negative energy.
Right,
So
but
so I also want to make sure I give back, because I think that that's what Arielle's talking about. It's like, yeah, you can be there. Let me give you some seeds.
Yes, exactly.
that's different. You can give seeds, but when but I know what you're saying. I know,
but I know you're not disagreeing with that, because once you get the season, you have to water it. Let me show you how to water it. Let me show you how to put sunshine on it. Let me show you how to nurture that.
Right.
Let me give you tools that you have to exercise, because I can't exercise for you.
And if someone says to you, no, I don't want to grow, love me for who I am, deal with it, then you got it. That's when you have to go, got it. You enjoy your life.
Yeah.
It's not about me. That's not about, this is just nice chapter and next. You have to learn to go where you can be the most useful and where it can feed you back as well.
Well, also respect and have reverence for you. And that's called loving yourself, right?
Exactly.
And that's what love is. And that's what we're really talking about. I want to ask you, Arielle, mindful living. Can you talk about that a little bit? What your adventure is now?
My goal is community connecting, community activation. So it's started with bringing mindfulness into the workspace, because that happens to be my 9-to-5 job, and it was a goal. I do the purchasing for the company, so I was like, I think I have more power here than I realized. So let me take an analysis of what I'm spending my money on, and let me either support everything that either is sustainable or eco-friendly, or where I can't do that, can I support brands that have a social impact or a give back component? So this ended up being a lot of fun. So we kind of did this overhaul with the whole company and just support brands in kind of either of those two spaces. And so as I was doing this research and finding more companies, I just kept coming across so many amazing people. And so then I was like, more people need to know about these brands and these companies. So we started a think tank at Soho House originally. One of my good friends, Luke Gledhill, shout him out. And the goal was, the goal was, how can we, it wasn't about money, and it's not really about good looks. It literally was like, how can I bring these people together so that they can do more good? And that to me is incredibly exciting. So yeah, the group started literally a year ago, and it's a collective of business owners or individuals that have built products, brands, companies, all either with a focus on eco-friendly sustainability or social impact and giving back to the community. So the group has grown really, really big, and is a lot of fun. And I'm sending you guys the invite so that you guys can join in too.
Thank you.
And then,
Fantastic.
It'll be fun. And then we just do community-based events. Our most recent one last week, due to COVID, some of the children in Los Angeles that we volunteer with are stuck at home and they don't have the funds to do anything really. So my girlfriends and I, are the group in Mindful, like, let's pull together an event and let's raise proceeds to buy the kids art kits. I do not like asking people for money. That is literally not my thing.
I hate it.
I always like to.
I hate it.
I hate it. So I'm always like, how can I bring you value in exchange? So we did an event last week. We brought in a numerologist, a tarot card reader, a psychic, and a Chinese face mapping.
I want to go.
It was so much
She
fun.
puts on the best events, just so you know.
They're
I want to
so
go to
much
all
fun, because I'm all about bringing value. Like, I want you to walk
and
away
love,
feel more love.
Uh-oh.
Froze.
Okay.
He froze on that one, so we're gonna just basically say that again. It's like, no, and I want to be at all of her events, because not only does she do great things, but she makes you feel loved, and it's about love, right?
Literally, it's the foundation of what it's all about. So yeah, so we used all the funds went towards raising the art kits, and we bought a bunch of jewelry kits and paint supplies, and we passed them out this weekend to underprivileged children. So that was a lot of fun. But everyone was texting and raving about how much fun and how much healing they got and benefit, and they felt so loved. But yeah, all of the events are about that. When I would throw a gala, I would tell all the girls running the door to the ones running the table, act like this, that everyone walking into this place, they're doing you a favor. They bought a ticket, they've done whatever, even if it's free. I want people, when they leave this room after donating or giving 2 hours of their time, because that's a gift right there, to feel like they got so much love. Even the free events, like, thank you so much for coming. I hope you have a great day. That's always the foundation of all of the events. So yeah, that's a little bit in summary of what I'm working on.
It's beautiful because it makes it when you're cognizant of making people feel welcomed and loved, it's so important because we don't do that enough, and I actually learned, that's something my mom passed down to me, was like, my mom a gorgeous woman could be walking by. My mom is straight as could be, like loves men, no, but she calls a spade a spade. Like if you walked by, she probably would stop and go, stop, wow, gorgeous, beautiful, thank you, have a good one. My mom, I mean, that's
I
how
love that. I do the same.
and
Yeah.
women, and one compliment
love
from a woman
that.
is worth 10 from a man.
Agree. And that was kind of the theories that way back when I was incredibly depressed, I was like, you hear all these sayings and theories, pour out love, comes back, smile in the world, smiles back at you, give and you shall receive. That was kind of like, okay, I don't know if these are true, but let me just test out these theories. Let me just do a personal run, just see how this goes. That's literally my goal, was my goal like 7-8 years ago. And now I sit here and I have friends, I want to donate, I want to help, I want to do this. And I'm like,
But it's
all those
authentic because you're authentic, Arielle.
but not just that, it was all those, we think like tit for tat, or if I give this person, then they're gonna ask me a favor. It's not like that. Energy is energy. You pour out love and it will come back to you in tenfold.
But you don't have to have expectations. You should always do it without expectations. Like Cassie, you're like that. You're very much like my mom. You're
She's
very
such a giver. Mm-hmm.
You'll call other women beautiful. Not every woman. There's not a lot of people that do that.
No.
No.
They're
not. Okay. See, I only know me.
Good at that.
You are very good at making other women feel good, and that's so important because my mom could do that, and I learned from her. It's like it's about being confident in yourself to know that because someone else is beautiful doesn't make you not beautiful.
Exactly.
And to say what you feel. How many times do we look at something and go, wow, that's incredible, but we don't say so because we're jealous, or I mean, and I did a documentary on women writers breaking the glass ceiling, and what is been the biggest challenge? Other women.
100%. We dress up for other women. Everything. It's about women. Yeah.
Well, here's the other cool part is that the more that we as women come together and work together and, face each other and love each other and share, the more we're going to find out how much more we have in common rather than what we have separated, not just women, but men. And also, like, we're not the same. We're not the same as men, but we are equal, and we're all equal to each other. It doesn't matter what position we have in life. And the more that we get to that place, that grounding level, I think that the world will become a better place because that's what I hope to shift. And that's the kaleidoscope that I wished, for me, that I got 4 years ago from a woman that I call my kaleidoscope, that she gave me so much information because I was like, this is it. It's very black and white. No. and it's like, no, it's, and then with that new little expansion of my own mind that she helped me see a different perception, it's opened up so many other opportunities for me to say, well, maybe it's this. And then I wait now. I don't immediately react, because we have that immediate reaction, fight or flight. And I was always up against it. So you have to do something because you have to protect yourself because that's the reactive mind.
Yeah.
We have that reactive mind rather than staying in peace and having that calm and letting time happen. I never would before.
Let the answers come to you.
We really are all made up of the same connection, and we have this energy to actually put out love or to put out something else.
Yeah.
And if we put out fear, if we put out hate, that's what you see. That's our signature. We
project. If we're happy, we think everyone's happy. If we're sad, we think everybody's sad. We project.
Yeah.
And and our minds are so complex, and certainly I am no doctor, so I can't be talking about that in any way, but I can say that I absolutely love both of you. I am super grateful to have this conversation and to talk with Arielle about what she's been doing. She's a phenomenal person. Ever since you came on board at Digital Jungle with us, I saw what you are now. That's the person I saw, is the love that you have, the care that you gave, even though maybe you weren't giving it to yourself. I saw that seed already because you gave that to us. That's why we hired you, because you just had such an effervescent personality. And I just the growth and the give back that you're doing and the things that you're doing are just amazing and beautiful. And I'm just so grateful that you were able to share with us your story and what you're doing and the love that you're sharing with this world, because you are shape-shifting people and giving them the seeds and the tools they need to love themselves, so we become a great flower bed.
Yeah. Well, I think you pulling back the curtain, so you're being, you're very disarming, and that's powerful. That is what you share is what is transformative for other people, because we can it'll resonate, whether those, because it's authentic. So when we tell our true stories, those are the most powerful.
Definitely.
Sure. Is there anything, Arielle, that you would like to share that we didn't ask you?
I think we touched on a lot, actually. We've jumped all around 30 years.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for joining us, and I just want to thank our audience as well. And I just appreciate you. We're so grateful.
Please subscribe, share, and you'll meet great people like Arielle. And we want everyone to know these people. We want to connect as well. We want you to connect. So
yes, please connect.
Thank you both for creating a platform of healing too. This is incredible.
Oh, well, we so appreciate you. And of course, we always appreciate you, our listeners. And until next time, remember, love is contagious, love is powerful, and love conquers all.
I love that.
And I love you guys.
All you gotta
Thank you,
do is
Arielle.
sing a song.
Bye.
Bye.